there are various different lays that are on the market. This is one of the more complex ones. There's 17 different types within here across a slightly smaller number of species. And the key to the sort of the productivity and the positive effect that these lays have is that diversity. One, because depending on the conditions or the year even, you might find that most of the species come up one year and perhaps in a different place the same year you get a different mixture, or even in the same place but a different year you'll get a different mixture. And if you've got that breadth of diversity of different species, at least some of them will succeed, and every time you will get a reasonably good diversity with a different set of root structures and how they penetrate the soil and all of the different components they give you. So I'm working closely with my colleague Patrick McKenna, who has prepared a set of plants from. So we have a number of different legume species, and we have some forbs and a number of different grass species. So I'm going to just hand over to Patrick to talk you through some of those.
So one of the first species, and one of the most important ones really, is white clover. As you all know, it's usually an ingredient of grass clover lays. It's stoloniferous, and that's why it's so widely used, because it's quite resistant to grazing. So you'll find that in every grass clover lay in the country now. But in this one we've got a couple of extra species. The other species we're growing is red clover. Red clover's made a big comeback in inclusion in grass clover lays in the last decade or so, because the breeding programs have improved quite a lot, particularly in Ibis. Red clover is very deep rooting, and it also has a chemical in it called polyphenol oxidase, which is very good for livestock as well, because it slows down the digestion of nitrogen in the ruminant as well, so more nitrogen gets into your animals. That's red clover. We've got Alsike clover as well. Alsike clover, you might not have heard of it. It looks like a cross between red clover and white clover, despite being a whole new species in itself. The flower looks almost halfway between the two, and the stipules are white as well. That's very deep rooting as well. We include that one. And then, probably most excitingly, we've got Sainfoin. That's this one here with the compound leaves. And we've got another kind of old-fashioned forage you might be familiar with. That's called bird's foot trefoil, or eggs and bacon, because the yellow and red flowers make it look a bit like a plate of bacon and eggs thing. But these two plants are known for their presence of condensed tannins in the leaves, which are very good for livestock, because it reduces methane emissions and reduces bloat in your livestock. So it's happier livestock, and it's good for climate and good for the planet as well. And these also have very deep roots as well, kind of like the chicory. So that's why we include all these legumes, have all these different benefits for farmers to have, because condensed tannins can also have an anti-emetic effect and reduce internal pathogens in sheep and cows as well. A couple of different kinds of species of forbs, which is non-legume, non-grass plants. This is a mature chicory, so that's kind of just taken from the side of the margin. So you can imagine it's easy to see how a deep root comes off a plant like that. And it's very high sugar content as well, so that's why the animals like it very much. A couple of different grasses. Got the usual ryegrass. That's your standard grass in grass clover lays, but we included a couple more as well for their deep roots. That's Meadow fescue, and this is Timothy as well. And we've got coxwood as well. So the question is, if we increase the diversity of species of both legumes and grasses as well as forbs, is this going to have a knock-on effect on soil quality beyond that of your standard grass clover lay?